Hi, welcome to Laura's View and Tarot 2. I'm really glad you're here. Today's date is Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. And I admit, as I'm looking for information and news, I end up in some odd places. And sometimes I end up with an idea I had no idea I'd be reading about. Today is one of those cases. We're going to look at something that's been called the creepiest thing on the internet. I don't know if it's going to be a rabbit trail or not, but I promise to stay with you to the end. And we'll do a read and see if the creepy factor has been somewhat mitigated by fate, the Alliance, and the White Hats. Okay, here's what I'm talking about. I'm going to go first to a screen that looks pretty safe and simple. Let me show you what it is. When you go to Deagel.com, it looks like there's a list of countries and it talks about how many of different kinds of armaments that they have. So it's kind of information about military vehicles, things like that. Okay, supposedly that's what it is now. If you go a little further back, and apparently it's really hard to find on the internet, but guess who found some? They've actually had some reports out that in the past that projected a huge loss of population. Now you can still, on the site that's available now, if you just went to Deagel.com, you could look at the GDP and the personal spending power and things like that. That's bleak enough. But back in 2017, this site projected that by 2025, the population of the United States would go from 327 million down to less than 100 million. Now, you can look at this. I'll have a link to this compilation in my video description box. You can go here and look at a little more information about it. There's also some good links that can take you a little farther. Same thing here. There's been some comparisons with the Deagel Report and the Georgia Guidestones. This is the internet creepy version of the Guidestones, okay? Now, it's important to remember those depopulation numbers, which it's interesting because the big pandemic didn't start till 2020, and this report I have in the main screen is from 2017, okay? From what we know, those results were calculated assuming there would be 100% participation in mandatory jabs and boosters, okay? Now, while those might not kill or do away with 200 million people, there's speculation that there were some nuclear conflicts also factored into those calculations. Okay, now, warp speed, like it or not, Operation Warp Speed did interfere with those plans because by speeding up the production, they never got it mandatory. Those injections and jabs were always emergency use only authorization. Okay, now this site has been referred to as the creepiest thing on the internet, and it's thought to be connected to a 3-letter agency. Okay, now, why would a 3-letter agency kind of try to get those reports off the viewership? And I'm hoping it's because they're no longer accurate, that those projections are no longer accurate, that plans were foiled, that things have changed. Maybe not as much as we'd like, but they've changed. So we're going to ask the universe about this creepiest site on the internet, the Deagel Report, that predicted major depopulation, and you can go more in depth into it if you want to. Because it was kind of interesting how they projected population flows, things like that, in the coming years. All right, so I'm going to just ask the universe. The fact that that report is now very hard to find on the internet. Could we have insights and information, especially if it's because those numbers are no longer valid because of changing factors such as not universal jab statuses, nuclear capabilities that are no longer in deep state hands, etc. Let's see what the universe has to say about why that report is now hard to find, and it's no longer being so publicly referenced as a guide to what to expect between now and 2025. I'll change the camera and you can watch me do the shuffling. Okay, again, we're just looking for insights and information about the current accuracy on this timeline and on this plane of existence of that Deagel report and their projections, and what may have impacted those any possible changes we're seeing, or any cover up that's happening of that old report material. Okay, our first card is the Fool. Then we have the Eight of Wands, the Empress, the Two of Cups, Eight of Pentacles, Ten of Pentacles, Death. Okay, remember we were asking, why is this information kind of getting hard to find on the internet? And are there changes that have happened to it? And we're getting a big nod here with that question being answered by the Fool card. First of all, that's a major arcana. We've got 3 of them out of 7 cards here. So we have a significant topic that we're asking about. Okay, now the Fool is not a fool, but setting out on a new path. And pretty much in faith. And so, and then it's clarified, or we're given a little more insight with the Wands card here, which is always about events. So what's happened here is from 2017 to today, there have been events that weren't planned for that set humanity off on an improved path. So I got in a couple of my questions in the last couple of weeks that changes were already afoot, that they were already happening. We may not have had a big and obvious tower moment, sky event, that kind of thing happening, but changes have been made, and our timeline is now not that bleak and dire, which is a really good thing. Okay, now we have the Empress card showing that there's been some definitely the divine feminine has been at play here, because this is a card of love, and there is a lot of love for humanity. We're getting a lot of grace, people, because there are divine and benevolent beings, not to mention just wise humans, that are very aware that we have suffered and not had a chance to reach our full potential. So we're getting a lot of grace for that, and a little bit of help too. So I'm seeing that we've had some kind of divine help in making this happen. This shift, slow but sure, in the ascension process, moving us out of 3D. Okay, now we're a free will universe. This present card here is the Two of Cups, which is always about agreement, just nodding to us that yes, humanity still has free will. Okay, and it will be honored. So we get some grace for things we didn't know, but our free will is going to be honored. And there were enough people that said, I don't want to be part of a major depopulation event. I don't want that. I don't want that for my loved ones, for my community, for my country. That timeline has been somewhat changed. And there's been a lot of factors with that. Like I said, the fact that those jabs could never be mandatory, that they were emergency use only, even though that was often violated and not honored the way it should be. So there were more of them that went out, but not nearly what had been the original plan. And that set us off on this new, better, improved timeline. A lot of hard work's gone into that. And the hard work, this is in the future. We've got hard work still to do, not just to wake people up, but to shake off some of those plans, and to get our world back on track. All right. Now, this is talking about long, slow change. Again, just a nod to us that this process, okay, first of all, our free will is going to be honored. All right. So we need to be very careful about what we say we want, what we envision. Okay. And then when we do, we have to understand we've still got some hard work to do, but it's already in process. Okay. This is hard work in process, not done, but in process. Okay. And then celebration. And this pentacles are often a real thing. We're going to be celebrating some new technologies, some improved finances. Our future is looking really bright. Okay. A nod that it's taking a long time to get there. Absolutely. But it's looking really bright. Let's get a couple more cards and see if there's a little more insights. Now, understand these cards will be that I pull after this. I'll always be still looking ahead and not quite as impactful as these two were. Okay. So what else can we find out about looking ahead and information about that site? We got the Magician showing up, another major arcana. Beautiful thing about the Magician is he is just a master of making manifest. And again, we're learning our powers of that. And then we have the Knight of Wands, okay? A card of action, justice, and not backing down from a challenge, okay? A lot of courage involved here. So I think that's why. I do think that the timeline has been changed. And that's one of the reasons that information is either being scrubbed or it's no longer on this timeline. That would be beautiful, but I think it's being scrubbed. Okay, and the work's not done yet, but it's in process. So let's recap. We were looking at an old report that's still available in different corners of the internet from Deagel.com that projected a huge loss of population in the United States and other G7 countries by 2025. And we said, why is this information getting hard to find? Looked like there were two possibilities, okay? Either because it's no longer accurate or because it is, and they don't want people talking about it. Well, we're talking about it now. Actually, the good news is we were told by the cards that the reason we're not finding it is actually we've had some timeline changes and we're on a new path. We're on an improved path where that is no longer, those projections are no longer valid. And there's been a lot of events happening to make that happen. The efforts of the White Hats Alliance, Off-World Benevolent, Divine Help, people waking up. We tend to complain about those still asleep instead of celebrating how many are awake and waking up. And there's more every day. And that has changed that. That's why people were rejecting those medical procedures that were supposed to be so good for us. People are starting to question the narrative. They're turning off the mainstream. They're looking for answers. Okay. We know that's a process and it's slow, but it's kind of one you can't turn away from. I've heard people say someone went back to sleep. No, they may have gone into denial, but you're not going to go back into sleep. Now we have a little affirmation here with the Empress card, letting us know that we've had some really beautiful energy helping us, loving energy. And again, as I've praised it, the humanity's been given a lot of grace because there's an understanding that we didn't know what we didn't know. Now there's a responsibility though. That grace has limits. And we were told that our free will is going to be honored. This is a free will universe. Okay. Now, moving forward to get our world from this starting gate here to where we want it to be. There's some hard work involved. It's good work. It's going to pay off greatly. We need to understand that that process isn't going to be necessarily fast because the death card isn't about death. It's about a long, slow change. Okay. But since we've had millennia where we've been enslaved, where we've been suppressed, where our history's been nothing but lies and information is usually anything but, and our medical industry creates customers, not cures. We have a long way to go. So I think reminding us that there's some hard work still to do is not unreasonable. However, we got the Magician showing up here, reminding us that we can make that future we want manifest. Okay. All right. And how do you do that? Well, I've often said, picture the world you want. But sometimes the universe, just like the tarot cards, which gets information to and from the universe. And in my case, that means my higher self that can see things I can't see and know things I don't know, or my loving creator. Okay. Sometimes it's best to have it be general. I want to live in a world of health, happiness, and peace. Then we don't have to be specific about, I want this financial system to be in play. I want this many people to wake up. We can just keep it at health, happiness, and peace, or whatever those attributes you would like to live. But those are three of the ones I would like to live it with, definitely. I would like to live in a timeline where people have enough, where we are fully allowed the use of our capacities and enjoy exploring them and grow. But regardless, okay, you now know you can take a peek at the creepiest site on the internet. And it does look like three-letter agencies have been involved with that, but they've been involved with lots of things that aren't good for humanity or countries ever since their inception. Okay, you can take a look at that and say, been there, done that, but that's not the timeline we're on now. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. And for people watching this, it's either Friday or Saturday, depending on your time zone or, when you watch it. And I wish you a fabulous weekend. And as always, love and light and everything bright.